countryside and the city, there is a story based on a personal experience. I greet all those who are listening to this tale. I wish to share it with you. This story took place at a time when channels like this did not exist, where one could share and recount them to others. Back when there was no internet, no mobile phones, no computers, events occurred without many people noticing. Perhaps only a few individuals in the villages spread rumors, and that was it. I come from a place near the coast, by Pinotepa Nacional, Oaxaca. I recall when I was younger, tales were told about a woman in the village who could transform into a cat. It was said that at night she could be seen leaping from one roof to another. She was different from the other cats, larger, more elusive, and easily distinguishable from the common ones. She stood out because other cats followed her, which made her easy to identify. Though she never harmed anyone, she instilled great fear in me, especially when I heard noises in the night. The village where I grew up was surrounded by lush green hills, with the aroma of wildflowers lingering in the air. The sound of the river flowing gently in the distance was a constant lullaby to our ears. At night, the darkness enveloped the village like a soft blanket, and the only sounds that echoed were the rustling leaves and the distant hoots of an owl. It was in this serene setting that the mysterious tale of the woman who transformed into a cat unfolded. The villagers, mostly farmers and fishermen, led simple lives intertwined with nature's rhythms. Each day, they toiled under the scorching sun, their sweat mingling with the earth's fragrance. The woman in question, rumored to possess supernatural abilities, was a topic of hushed conversations among the villagers. During their breaks from work, some believed her to be a shapeshifter, while others dismissed it as mere superstition. As twilight descended upon the village, casting long shadows across the cobblestone streets, whispers of the mysterious woman grew louder. Children hurried back to their homes, their laughter giving way to a hushed silence. As in the quiet of the night, the mere thought of a woman transforming into a cat, leaping across the roof tiles of the house, sent shivers down my spine. It was a chilling sensation that often robbed me of sleep. I would lie awake, waiting to catch the faint echo of those footsteps on the roof. Many had attempted to extract a confession from her, but as long as she lived, she remained steadfast in her denial. Her name was Gloria Mateo. She departed a year prior, amidst a tremor that had been forewarned. At the burial on the 9th day, she returned after a year of this. Within a year of her return, she fell ill. Her condition deteriorated so rapidly that they had to bring her back. It is said that was to return between one of my mother's cousins and a neighbor. They took care of her, even though she had been prescribed medication. It seemed like they were just painkillers because, despite Days passing. They had to take her back against her will since she wasn't. If you were the one I spent the most time with, she never told me or spoke about the matter. I held on to the hope that she would tell me that time when it seemed like she was on the brink of death. But no, she didn't tell me, nor anyone else. I just listened as the two of them wandered around, with the idea of finding out while she was sick. Both of them hoped she would say it, as usual when people are on their deathbed or when they get drunk. But that in the heart of the warm lands, it was crystal clear to them every time they conversed with her that while she was away, she yearned for those places where magic is not just a concept, but a tangible, lived experience. She, now older and illiterate, set out to explore what opportunities awaited her in the bustling city. She thought of offering her services as a milker at the dairy farm. However, she soon realized that milking cows there involved the use of machines. Undoubtedly, to find contentment in urban settings, one must often part ways with the cherished aspects of rural life, adapting to a different way of living influenced by the cold that pervades the city. There, one must wear shoes all day and layer up with more clothing to combat the chill during her illness. Those who cared for her observed that she was the sole surviving sibling among all her brothers. The three eldest had already passed away, succumbing to circumstances that left them with waning spirits. No one could discern how to alleviate their ailments. Eventually, they ceased eating, gradually withering away. Legend has it that once the four siblings fell ill simultaneously, confined to their beds in a battle for their lives. She missed the earthy scent of freshly tilled soil, the symphony of crickets at dusk, and the gentle rustling of the leaves in the wind. These were the elements that stirred her soul, invoking a sense of belonging that the urban landscape could not replicate. As she navigated the unfamiliar terrain of the city, she often found herself reminiscing about the simplicity of her rural upbringing. The city dwellers rushed past her, their faces obscured by a veil of anonymity. In stark contrast to mysterious was the case of Doña Gloria and her brothers, who found themselves at two opposite poles. It was as if fate had conspired against them, for they all succumbed to illness at the exact hour of the same day. Their bodies bore the marks of their affliction, swollen, bruised, plagued by pains, dizziness, cramps, and erratic heartbeats. The townsfolk whispered in hushed tones, unable to make sense of it, but there was a shared understanding of the ordeal. That had befallen them. Doña Gloria, in particular, seemed to have borne the brunt of a malevolent force. She shunned all visitors, veiling herself in a shroud from as she lay in bed, fervently praying for solitude, even when her perspiration soaked through the sheets and tremors racked her body. She remained steadfast in her desire for seclusion. She turned a deaf ear to the well-meaning ladies who sought to treat her with folk remedy, fiercely resisting any attempts to take her to a doctor. No one believed her assertion that her malady lay beyond the realm of conventional medicine, as was often the case in these rural communities. Word traveled swiftly across the countryside, carried by concerned relatives residing in distant hamlets. Messengers relayed the strange events unfolding at the crossroads, sparking a flurry of exchanged information. It became apparent that the onset of illness had struck all siblings simultaneously, and, more bewildering, that none of them harbored any inclination to seek conventional treatment elsewhere. In the quaint village where the siblings dwelled, superstitions held sway over the minds of the inhabitants. The mere mention of the supernatural cast a pall of fear, leading many to speculate on the unseen forces at play. The air was thick with unease, as though an invisible web of malevolence had enshrouded the household of Doña Gloria and her stricken kin. As the days wore on, the siblings' conditions showed no signs of improvement. They languished in their respective beds, their once vibrant spirits dimmed by the weight of their shared affliction. The villagers, normally a tight-knit community, now found themselves divided by fear and uncertainty. Whispers of curses and hexes mingled with prayers for divine intervention, creating an atmosphere fraught with tension and foreboding. Each passing night brought with it a new wave of dread, as the moon cast its silvery light upon the village, illuminating the hushed conversations and furtive glances exchanged among the townsfolk. Shadows danced on the walls, mirroring the inner turmoil that gripped the hearts of those witness to the inexplicable suffering of Doña Gloria and her brothers. In the heart of this somber tableau, Doña Gloria lay still, her breath shallow and labored, her eyes fixed on the ceiling, as if searching for answers in the patterns of the ancient beams above. Her brothers, too, lay motionless, their faces contorted in silent agony, their bodies bearing the scars of an unseen assailant. The passing of time seemed to slow to a crawl, each minute stretching into eternity as the specter of illness loomed ever larger over the once peaceful homestead. Outside, the winds whispered secrets known only to the night, carrying with them the echoes of a past long forgotten. The rustling of leaves and the creaking of branches seemed to form a mournful symphony, underscoring the gravity of the situation that had befallen the village. Nature itself appeared to mourn the plight of its inhabitants, as if bearing witness to a tragedy that transcended the boundaries of human understanding. In the depths of the night, when the world lay shrouded in darkness, and the stars blinked their silent vigil, a lone figure approached. I also didn't want them to be seen at the house. And all this caused more suspicion and strangeness among the people. A few days passed, and there was no shortage of those who brought more news of how the others were faring in their recovery, always with the doubt and suspicion as to why it was happening at the same time, while the four of them lived. It seemed that something between one and the other had more energy or strength to recover, but as one by one they started dying, it became more complicated for the others to come out of the illness or affliction. It is said that two of the older ones were found with marks on their necks, as if they had been marked by a noose. It was never known exactly how the last one died. Suddenly, one day, they arrived with the news, perhaps triggered by the pretext of the earthquake stirring the water. Doña Gloria's daughter arranged to be taken away, as if to prevent the others from realizing what would happen to her. But around here, we all say it was worse, because she could no longer bring. As the days unfolded, the small town where this mysterious event occurred buzzed with whispers and fearful glances. The shadows lengthened, casting an eerie veil over the once peaceful streets. Each passing hour seemed to drip with an inexplicable tension. As if the very air held secrets waiting to be unraveled. The residents, gripped by a mixture of fear and curiosity, exchanged hushed conversations, laden with foreboding. Speculations ran rampant, swirling like dark storm in the collective consciousness of the community. The veil of normalcy had been torn asunder, revealing a darker underbelly that lurked beneath the facade of everyday life. Despite the facade of unity that adorned the town, a palpable sense of unease hung in the air, like a heavy fog, the once transforming into what she was at night, amidst the lights, cars, and all the dangers of the city was becoming increasingly challenging. The city's grasp on her was tightening, slowly but surely. No one knew why it was consuming her this way. Everyone around here claimed they already knew what it was all about. Yet, no one had ever shown any intentions of harming her, poisoning her, or stoning her out of fear or habit. No one would have dared to make a move against her. In the city, she couldn't do it anymore, and that's why she fell ill, even though they brought her in. There was little to nothing that could be done for her. She never accepted or confessed to anyone that she transformed into a cat at night. She never even hinted at it. Her siblings did the same, but everyone said it ran in the family. Since her grandmother's time, it was whispered that even before her, it was more commonplace. But over time, it began to be frowned upon due to the actions of certain parents who had arrived in the area, justifying their deeds by claiming they were fighting against the devil. They started poisoning all the cats. The legacy of transformation lingered in her bloodline, a secret masked by the shadows of the night. Her ancestors, shrouded in mystery, had passed down this peculiar trait. It was said that her grandmother and those before her had effortlessly donned the feline form under the moon's watchful gaze. In the ancient days, such shape-shifting was celebrated, a dance with nature's spirits that whispered through the trees. However, as time unfurled its dark tendrils, a new narrative